That's
They're just
that
bulldozing.
seems completely illegal.
Yeah, they're
in
just
a way.
bulldozing, and it's the kind of thing of once everybody's in there, you just say, gee, we're sorry.
You know, wasn't this supposed to go to the housing of the Southwest Museum artifacts?
That's a whole different issue.
Yeah, that's a different thing.
Completely separate.
So in January,
100% different.
the board of
Not all
directors
related.
met, the board of trustees met, and there was no discussion about transferring the campus, no discussion about commercial tenants, no discussion about public-private partnerships, no discussion of anything, nothing.
And why that's significant is it isn't a legal transfer till they vote on it, and yet all this work is being done, and they're preparing leases,
And
and
there's no.
Yeah.
Not even a vote on it. There's
so
not
how
even
did
a
you know that
direction.
was going to pass?
There's not
if
even
you
a
didn't
direction from
know
the
what
board of
people were going to
trustees.
vote like?
Not even a direction from the board of trustees to pursue this.
No, nothing.
Sounds like Brown Act violation.
Oh, we can show specific Brown Act violations, but what do you do about it?
Well, here's one. Ken Sherwood violated the Brown Act by adding an item to the Shared Governance Council recommending that the campus get transferred to the district.
Without any notice.
Drummond basically says it's got to happen immediately.
Or we're going
And
to take a bunch of your money
The
away.
Shared Governance Council agrees, and the vote is advisory, as only the trustees can actually take action.
But also, at that meeting, people brought up the Brown Act violation and were ignored.
So again, in February, the task force
It's
meets.
in the minutes.
They're meeting with the city of LA to identify space to house the city's unemployment programs. And Gary Colombo is meeting with Judy Burton of the Alliance Charter Schools, who's the tenant that's in the new building right now. And that's the mayor's charter school. That's the one that he's been pushing.
One of the two. Yeah, but I think this is his favorite.
So a little bit further on in February, this is a quote from, who's this quote from? Oh, these are quotes from
These are
Agent
quotes.
Barrera.
Yeah, from Acting Chancellor Barrera, from a memo that we have of hers.
This is how they want to deal with the community. Is
As definite plans are developed, so I don't get that. How, if, let interested parties know there is a town hall meeting to tell them what's going to happen, is that it?
Yeah, except that they had if at the moment they're doing the town hall meeting, there's memos showing completely opposite of what they said. And then this one to me is interesting. Jamila Moore, Dr. Moore is the president of the college. She's keeping elected officials and city college staff informed without providing specifics. I mean, that's an imperative that they're given.
so they're basically engaged in a snow job.
Yeah. That's how we
So
interpret
in
it.
a little bit further in February, the Alliance Charter Schools
my God.
signs the lease, basically gets the lease documents together with the guy that's the head of the union.
Before it's even voted.
And you know, says thank you for meeting today. You know, we're really looking forward to our 5-year lease. February board of trustees meeting, nothing. Okay, here's where the direction actually comes to start converting the space into commercial.
Now, Larry Eisenberg is the head of their building
The
program.
director of facilities.
Director of facilities.
And if you look him up on the internet, he's got all kinds of recognition for their green program. But the truth is
It
that
wasn't his program.
yeah,
It was Dan Seymour's program who he fired. He just took all of Dan's documents, put a new name on them, and that's his program.
Education-based tenants.
Yeah, like the CCD offices and the unemployment offices. And I guess Alliance could technically be, but this was supposed to be above 12, because there's lots and lots of K through 12 schools, lots of that. This was, what they don't have is anything, you know, above 12.
okay. So the March meeting comes with the board of trustees and nothing. So this is around this time in March is when we're starting to ask if the steering committee can get reactivated.
Actually, we started April 27th.
Do you guys need to go? Or is there a hard cutoff?
I don't know.
No,
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
April
This is going to
27th.
take about another 15 minutes.
April 27th, we and several elected officials' offices began asking for a reconvening of the Van de Kamp steering committee. They were telling us, and there's documents where they're talking to the elected officials saying, well, we're working on setting something up. At the same time, they're sending each other messages. Sylvia Scott Hayes, one of the trustees, I totally agree with Jamila, do not reestablish the steering committee. Another from a note from Sylvia, steering committee is gone and dead.
And that's because they didn't want us
Listen,
sitting at the table.
no, they didn't want anybody paying attention, getting to know what's going on.
So the task force meets again. They've confirmed the first tenant, which is the Alliance Charter School. They are calculating out their revenue and their operating expenses and how much profit they're going to make. The construction manager is now working on the rebid for the designing the interior of the building, and they're also trying to push the schedule because they've got a lease now, which hasn't been signed by the Board of Trustees.
That's just over and over where that kind of tenant space is mentioned in various documents. And then we recently got the documents that show them submitting it to the state, where they're going to be ripping out and changing the plans for classrooms to tenant space.
So the April Board of Trustees met, and they didn't mention anything about any of this. And then in May, the General Counsel drafts the lease, and they actually never went out,
To bid.
to bid.
That's a
They
violation.
never put it out on the open market to see what they could get for the space.
But they still haven't been legally voted that they've changed the use of the space, and they're signing leases.
So here's another note from Larry.
Yeah, well, it says here, charter school, 5 years, etc., no competition. These were from his files.
So in May, the Board of Trustees met, and nothing came up. In June, they're doing the preliminary design program for the new tenants, and you can see who they're listed. Not one of these are educational tenants. They are all unemployment assistance programs. And these programs could have leased space from the private sector. So we're continuing at this point. We're really in the dark about all this stuff, but we're asking hard questions. No lease has been signed. We hear rumors, but nothing's actually been coming out to the public.
This is about the time you guys came to us, right?
Mhm.
With the
Yeah.
the head and the president of the school came.
And
as
remember,
well.
she said in 2 weeks, and remember it was in May, I think May,
Yeah.
the end of May. And remember, she said you'll have all that information in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And we're on a video saying that. We never got it.
Yeah.
So this is the stone wall.
That's just more of the stone wall.
So they actually put in an offer for the Denny's, and they've got an offer on the table.
$5 million are our tax revenue.
And it's the public-private ventures. And we filed our public records request in late June. And in June, the Board of Trustees met, and they didn't talk one thing about this.
So at this point, publicly, right? They have never had a meeting in which they have ever said, you know what we should do? Lease this out to the private sector.
Or how about, what are we going to do? We have a problem.
No, they have
What are
said
we
the
gonna do?
district's going to take it over. They've said they're looking at leasing to some possible educational things. And
Oh,
they
cute.
have mentioned the Alliance School. But they've been very cagey.
Right.
Very, very, well, you were at the meeting. They
Oh,
were
yeah.
very cagey. You leave the meeting and you don't really know that this
So
stuff's going on.
basically in July, in one meeting, it all came up, it was all passed.
Right.
That day,
Boom, boom,
the
boom.
Alliance lease was passed and signed, the same day
They transferred
changed
the
it.
campus
So all
to the
that
district.
stuff had been put into motion.
So when we were out protesting last
That's
month,
when we took the picture of Richard, because he was trying to push us off
The-
into the street.
the Alliance of Charter Schools has kids going into the first floor of the new building. It's in the middle of the construction zone. All the people, we actually saw the district people there. They were all wearing hard hats.
They told, in fact, Richard
Larry,
was saying,
yeah, I mean-
you can't be on this property because you don't have a hard hat. We were in the public sidewalk,
But the students
Kids
are
are
walking
going.
into the campus.
then
so-
none of them did. You see this one kid, we took a picture of him. He walked in front of that Bobcat. He had to squeeze, there was no space. He squeezed between the workers, then he kind of dashed between the cars coming out to go to school. And no one was out there to watch the kids come in or do anything with it. We were it.
So we have actually gotten some documents. We got a small batch of emails about a month and a half ago, and then about 2 weeks ago we got a second batch of emails, only from Larry Eisenberg. He's the only person.
Pretty much. There's a sprinkling of others, but just almost.
But they basically have they basically have been violating, breaking the law, and not providing us with public documents.
Plus, there's the whole train of how they voted violates their own written rules of how things have to be voted for in what order and what notice in order to be valid.